Are the cheap studio lighting kits from Amazon or elsewhere worth the money? How good are they for photography? Or are there better alternatives? I'm Amri, welcome to this entry-level photography lighting kit test. On Facebook and elsewhere, I often read the question, are these cheap photography lights from Amazon worth the money? So I ordered this Neewer Photo Studio Softbox lighting kit rated at 700 watt light output. So 350 watt for each lamp. But this is just an example. You will find hundreds of similar ones on Amazon, eBay and elsewhere. In this video, I will answer two very important questions. First, will that 350 watt of power create enough light for photography? And second, are there better alternatives? Let me explain how I will do the test. I will use a light meter and set it to shutter priority, 1/125th of a second, and ISO 100. That shutter speed would be the slowest setting I would use to photograph, let's say, a family portrait. Kids won't sit 100% still, so you want to freeze their motion. And the 1/125th of a second is the absolute minimum for me. It's actually pretty slow already, risking motion blur due to your subjects moving. The light meter will then tell me what aperture setting I would have to use to get the right image brightness. So very similar to what your camera does when you take an image. Let me just quickly turn off my video lights to show you the process. The lights will take some time to get to maximum brightness. Once they are there, I meter the light output at 1 meter distance. That's roughly 3 feet. Okay, at a shutter speed of 1/125th of a second and ISO 100, I get a reading of f1.4. That would be the setting I would have to use to get a well-exposed image. Well, but there are a few issues. First of all, f1.4 has a really shallow depth of focus. So in a close-up portrait like this, your nose might be in focus and your eyes might already be out of focus. Or in a group portrait, one person might be in focus and the other ones won't. And second, most of you don't even own a lens that supports f1.4. When using a kit lens, your lowest possible aperture setting would be f5.6. What does that mean for your camera settings? Going from f1.4 to f5.6, you will lose a lot of light because that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 clicks. That's 4 stops of light. To compensate for that, I will have to raise ISO. But by how much? By the same 12 clicks. So from ISO 100 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, ISO 1600. A short side note. Some cameras have bigger ISO steps, so 12 clicks might not get you to ISO 1600. Let me show you our exposure bars so that you can understand. 12 increments on the aperture in one direction and 12 increments on the ISO in the other direction to compensate for that. Well, and since you know that ISO creates noise, you will have a lot of noise in your shot. And here is issue number 3. That was measured at 1 meter distance. Many of you know that you lose light the further away a subject gets from that light. You know that from your torch. If you get really close, it is bright, but if you get further away, you lose a lot of lighting intensity. Now, what if I step back 3 meters from the kit light softbox and measure the brightness there? Sorry, that will get me out of the frame. I'll be back in a second. Here we go. I save you all the calculations this time and tell you the result right away. It is a shocking ISO 10,000. So imagine you want to photograph a family in your small studio and you have to use ISO 10,000 to get a decent image brightness with a kit lens. That's ridiculously high. Even if you added a second lamp to get more light output, which you would of course do not only because the lighting kit comes with 2 lights, you would still be at ISO 5000, and that's still way too high. I took a test shot to see whether that's correct. I was using the Canon T7i as a photo camera and took an image with the kit lens. So this image was shot at ISO 5000 with both of the cheap kit lights at a distance of 3 meters. Let's zoom in to see the noise. That's pretty awful, right? But in the video, it won't even look as bad as in reality. So take an image with your camera at ISO 5000 and check if that is a quality you want for your studio shots. I promise you won't. But why are they sold as photography lights then? Well, because you can use them for product or still life photography. Since products don't move, you can extend the shutter speed endlessly and get a beautiful noise-free shot at ISO 100. Let me just photograph this tomato. First I can move the lights really close, and then I can extend the shutter speed to 1/8 of a second at f11 and get a shot at ISO 100. Now, if that was too techy for you, I'd recommend watching our YouTube photography course, where I explain all that in very easy words so that everyone will understand what photography is all about. But I'd assume if you're looking for a lighting kit, you already know a bit about photography. Okay, back to our light. The essence of the kit so far is don't buy these cheap lighting kits for portraits, pets, or anything else that moves. But what are alternatives? More expensive continuous lights, speed lights, flash? Let's try one after the other. First, I will use one of my professional video lights. It's an LED light. I have to use a different softbox because it won't fit into the other. Another point, unlike other softboxes, you cannot use the ones that come with the kit when you later decide to upgrade and get a different light. Let's meter the brightness. It is one stop brighter. That would mean for our family setup we would get down to ISO 2500. Remember, that is with 2 lights. Let me try an even brighter light. I will switch that one off. And abracadabra, replace it with one of the older tungsten lights that were used before LED entered the stage. It is rated at 1000 watts and gets really hot. It also has a different light color. Just for your info, I turned the exposure of the video down. Otherwise, this would have been overexposed because when I look right into it, it is glaring like crazy. Result? 2 stops brighter than the cheap continuous lighting kit. That would get us down to ISO 1250 in our family shooting scenario with the 2 light setup. Is that amazing? No. Not at all. Remember, we are still at 1/125th of a second. If somebody really moves in your frame, you'll get a blurred image. So continuous lights aren't all that great for photography in general. There must be a different solution. And now we will get to the really usable alternatives for photography lights. There is a reason why flash exists. Let's start with an off-camera speed light behind an umbrella. I set the flash to full power and trigger it with this remote trigger. In 1 meter distance, I get a reading of f11 at ISO 100. In our 3 meter family setup, I would get f5.6 at ISO 100. Remember, with the cheap lighting kit, that was f5.6 at ISO 10,000. That is almost 7 stops brighter, or in other words, 128 times as bright than the cheap lighting kit. And that's not even a very strong speed light. And another big advantage of speed lights versus continuous lights, they will automatically freeze the motion in the studio, no matter what shutter speed you choose. I will explain that in another video, but just to demonstrate, let me quickly move my arms up and down and compare the shots. This one was shot with the continuous light and this with the speed light at 1/16th of the power. Do you see how well the speed light is freezing the motion? Speedlight kits start at about $140 with 2 speedlights, stands and umbrella. I'll give you some links in the description. Does it stop there? Nope. Dedicated studio flash heads output even more light. Let's meter a flash. I set this one to 400 watt seconds. Boom. You heard it? Don't know if you saw it because the flash fires so quick the video might not have caught it. This is almost 9 stops brighter, meaning it has 1000 times as much light as the cheap continuous lighting kit. 1000 times, that is massive. But that's not even full power, and that's not even the most powerful flash head you can get. Talking about power, you can reduce or increase the power of the flash and the Speedlight. You cannot change the output on the cheap continuous lighting kit at all. All you can do is place the lights further away from the subject to reduce the light output. But I honestly cannot think of a scenario where I want to even reduce the already pretty low light. Now, this was medium priced flashlight. The low end starts somewhere around $400 on Amazon, including 2 lights, umbrellas. I'll soon make another video about the advantages and disadvantages of umbrella versus softbox, stands and a trigger. As always, link in the description. I haven't tested them all, but flash is merrily flash, at least for beginners. There are all sorts of features that will make a difference if you earn your money with it, but for pure hobby use, that won't make much of a difference. Let me know in the comments if you want me to test the one or the other kit. Is there a disadvantage of using flash over continuous lights? Yes, you don't get what you see, but rather need to take an image first and then check. But it is really easy. All you have to do when you don't like the outcome is increase flash power if your image turns out too dark and lower if it is too bright, like a dimmer on a room light. One more advantage of flash or Speedlight, you can bring them with you on location, if they're battery powered. You couldn't do that with continuous lights, but in daylight they would be useless anyway. They wouldn't even be bright enough to lighten your shadows. Any cheap reflector will do a better job than that. And now, don't forget to subscribe for more honest reviews, tests and for our photography course. See you next time.